Good morning. Patricia Walls here from EarthWombyn. Thank you for joining my EarthWombyn Conscious Awakening Network channel. So today I thought we'd talk about some of the information from my book, my upcoming book, EarthWombyn Cosmology. So this is actually like a first look at what I'm going to be offering in the book. But it's important. It's important for those of you who are identifying as Earth women. And so this is about the Earth woman archetype and reclaiming your elemental identity. So sit back and enjoy. There are going to be some transmissions here. There is going to be some information shared that you may or may not already know. Perhaps this is just going to be confirmation for what you already know, right? So in today's episode, we'll explore the Earth Woman, what it is, and how reclaiming her archetype helps us to embody earth-based wisdom in a fragmented world. And my intention for sharing this is so that you can remember what you're called to walk in as an earth woman and an earth keeper. So that's an important note that we're going to talk about here, earth women and earth keepers. So what is the definition of earth woman archetype? It's not just feminine, but it's elemental and embodied. So Earth Woman is my work. It's the name of my LLC. It's my identification. And although I primarily work with women, I'm always cognizant, honoring, and grateful for the presence of the masculine in my life. So what I'm transmitting here is primordial wisdom, and that it doesn't belong to any gender. It belongs to essence, and essence transcends embodiment. So I feel that it's really important to reflect integrity as a bridge between polarities rather than a voice rooted in separation. So this happens, this stumbling around my words happens whenever there is a transmission. Many of you know me as a light language channel and activator. And so they as in the beings that I work with, the beings who counsel me, guide me, my oversoul, my monad, they let me know whenever they want to give a message. Usually I'll clear my throat a million times. I'm really gravelly in my voice, or I stumble around my words. And another reason that I stumble around my words is that, and many of you can identify with this, I am receiving so much information at one time that my mouth cannot transmit everything that I am receiving. It's sort of like typing or writing, handwriting. A lot of people now are using the keyboard to share their messages because they can type faster than they can handwrite. And so it's that way for me with receiving this information. Is sometimes I'm receiving it so fast that my words can't capture what they want you to know. And so all that to say, let's start out with the transmission to get us on target. So if you will bear with me for a second, if you will just relax, intend to receive, because you are here to receive, aren't you? And any thoughts, images, or feelings that come up, just say or think release, or even next. Next is what works for me. But what you're doing is those things are coming up to be released. And so when you say release or next, you are allowing them to go rather than focusing on them, holding them in place by thinking or saying, why am I thinking that? I'm supposed to be paying attention, right? And so I'm sorry, I got a message that distracted me. So instead of focusing on why you're thinking this or feeling this or getting this sudden pain in your left shoulder, just say release, okay? So let's begin. Mea hampai enanarkia lawe shatahandawe namaa. Ande handai lepe kokoi maba iach. Usht alayeshiteke wungoi mama ye nende etua. Ale ataye le kokoi ba ya mamuhi mama esha le chikipoa. Hambe babuhi tahanda ederayi li apakoi ipapayana. Ande handayile ke okokoi ba amabuhi apai. Asht ele shutokoi le mimoi maa. Me oheyama ambayete kewuka ebaba yirishi. Okay, so maybe now they'll let me continue. So Earth Woman is my work. It's the name of my LLC, and it's also my identification. And although I primarily work with women, I'm always cognizant, honoring, and grateful for the presence of the masculine in my life. So we're talking about primordial wisdom here that we're sharing. It's what and most of everything that I do is channeled. It's channeled information. Some of it is mixed with my experience, my knowledge, what I've gathered, my wisdom. But I would say probably 80% of it is channeled information, channeled from my own higher awareness, channeled from my oversoul, channeled from other aspects that I am existing in at present. So although what I offer is rooted in the sacred feminine mysteries, it's not limited to female bodies, and they feel it's very important to share that with you. So because I can only speak from a feminine frequency, I'm also clearly aware of all things that are created with masculine and feminine aspects. There has to be balance, right? And my wish for us here on this planet that we're existing on is that we all return to balance and harmony through frequency, not through gender. So it is the remembering of the womb as a creative principle, as an energetic chamber of becoming, dreaming, embodiment, which all things hold within, regardless of their biological sex or gender identity. So the masculine in its weakened form is often very controlling, manipulative, but the masculine in its awakened form, it's not excluded, but invited. It's invited to hold space for this wisdom, to integrate it, and to walk beside it, not as an outside, but as a sacred mirror. And I have identified several masculines, several, I'm going to call them born as men in my community, who hold this sacred energy, because we all carry the wisdom of woman. We all carry the cosmic womb inside. Those born in a masculine body, just their womb is also their reproductive organs. It is still a womb. It is still a place where they generate and create, right? So we all carry this cosmic womb within, just like we all carry the masculine witness. So when these two inner aspects merge, we become whole. And wholeness is what heals the earth, right? So if you feel resonance, you belong here. If your soul stirs at the name of Earth Woman, then you are one, no matter what your gender is. So let's talk about how it was explained to me as I was channeling this information. So there is EarthWombyn and there is the Earth Keeper, and they are the two currents of wholeness. Because I ask, can you call a masculine aspect an Earth woman? And there was a yes and no. There are also those who identify as a masculine movement who are born in a feminine body. So we're talking about both here, right? So the Earth Woman is the memory keeper, the dreamer, the codes within the soil and the stars. She, not in gender, but she, as in frequency, spirals inward to the center of creation, midwifing life from root to crown. Her voice is song, blood, seed, and light. Now, the Earth Keeper, the masculine movement of that, is the witness, the protector, the one who walks the outer ring, tending the fire, holding the boundary with reverence. He, as in the frequency, moves in harmony with the breath of the earth, not as a controller, but as a conscious co-creator. So they're not divided by gender, that's what I've been trying to get across here, but by the frequency and the function. All beings contain the capacity for both. So when the Earth Woman remembers, the Earth Keeper awakens. When the Earth Keeper listens, the Earth Woman rises. The world is not healed by dominant polarity. It's healed by the reunion of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, not in hierarchy, but in the dance. This pairing is not a romantic concept. It is what we all carry inside of us. The polarity, the blending. Although it does show up that way for some. You know, it does show up in the way that you choose your partners. But hopefully it's an energetic restoration of natural law. Hopefully it restores a balance that was once fractured when dominator systems disconnected us from the land, the body, the stars, and the ancestral lines. The vision that I have honors the masculine without bending the feminine to accommodate it. It invites men, those who carry strong masculine coding, to step into their frequency role with reverence without appropriating the sacred feminine path. And that is a tendency that we all have, appropriation, because we become enamored with things that someone else identifies with and holds, and we want it for ourselves. And sometimes we want it so strongly that we do what others have labeled appropriated. We take it within ourselves. So consider these awarenesses. Earth Woman walks with the waters. The Earth Keeper guards the springs. Earth Woman sings to the roots while the Earth Keeper plants the trees. Earth Woman dreams the new world while the Earth Keeper holds the field for its becoming. Together they form the sacred spiral and the grounding staff, the womb and the word, the dream and the deed. So one of the things that I added in the book was that between the Earth Woman and the Earth Keeper, they're considered to be twin currents living in one sacred temple, because we carry both, right? So there is a truth, ancient and deep, buried beneath centuries of division, that pulses now with renewed urgency. The path of the Earth Woman is not complete without her sacred polarity of the Earth Keeper. Not a mirror, not a shadow, but a complement, a counterpart, the other root of the same vast tree, drinking from the same crystalline waters that run beneath all of us. So this is not about gender in the way the world has come to define it. This is about frequency. It's about sacred currents, the feminine and the masculine, as cosmic principles dancing in a spiral of creation. EarthWoman walks with the memory of the blood and the bone, the womb and the tide, the dark moon and the mystery. The Earth Keeper walks with the memory of the sun and the stone, the guardian flame, the sacred fire, the protector of gates and thresholds, and each carries codes for the other. The Earth Woman remembers the way to call life into form. She sings to the seeds in the soils and stirs the cauldron of rebirth. The Earth Keeper remembers the way to hold life in form, to build temples from stone, to tend the hearth, to shield what is sacred. Together they form a complete resonance. Together they awaken the living temple that is both body and earth. So in ancient lands, before the veil, before the separation, there were priestess councils and keeper guilds. There were ceremonies where woman, and keepers stood as equals and anchoring in the energy, spiraling together around the same axis. When they danced, the earth responded. When they chanted, oh my God, mountains echoed with memory. This pairing is not romantic by default, although there becomes the entanglement, the entwinement, which becomes sacred and intimate. It is elemental. It is archetypal. The Earth Woman and the Earth Keeper may walk separate paths, but they pulse to the same planetary heartbeat. To the Earth Woman observing this, calling your Earth Keeper, not to serve you, you don't need saving, but to stand beside you in remembrance, to hold the outer rim while you go deep into your inner sanctum, to speak star codes through the fire while you weave water spells through the wind. To the Earth Keeper drawn to this work, you are remembered, you are honored, you are divine. You are not outside of this frequency. You are the sword embedded in the stone, waiting not for a hero, but for the right hand, the one that remembers the oath it made when the stars were still new. Let the Earth Woman and the Earth Keeper rise now together, not in hierarchy, not in opposition, but as a union of purpose, two branches of one tree, two notes in one song, four elemental expressions of the Earth Woman and Earth Keeper, earth, water, fire, and air. So that brings me to this part. Let's talk about the four elemental archetypes that form the Earth Woman and the Earth Keeper, and that initiate both of them into their fullness, right? And I'm going to use the term Earth Woman a lot because that is what this book is, Earth Woman Cosmology. But again, I am not excluding the Earth Keeper. So the Earth archetype, let's start with Earth. Of course, we're going to start with Earth first, right? So the Earth archetype, although we've touched on much about the Earth Woman, I just wanted to add this before we continue. So the Earth Woman is the stabilizer. She's the memory holder, the body wisdom of Earth Woman. Her element is soil, stone, bone, and seed. And she carries the knowing that life is cynical, sensual, and sacred, not something to transcend, but to inhabit. The Earth archetype speaks through stillness, presence, and ritual. So you'll recognize this archetype in yourself as someone who is rooted in place and purpose, someone who is trusting in slow growth and divine timing, someone who is connected to ancestors, land spirits, and original teachings, someone who receives pleasure in the tactile, the feeling, the embodiment practices, such as gardening and cooking, crafting and touch, someone who has a deep commitment to stewardship and interconnection. So close your eyes for me for a second and just listen to my words and receive this transmission of alignment. And you can see that my voice is getting gravelly because it's time for a transmission, and I'm going to listen to that. So if you would, just close your eyes and relax for a minute and receive this Earth Woman transmission to align you with the Earth Woman inside of you. I root into the body of the earth, and I remember who I am through her memory. You're being asked to land, to breathe down into your bones. Drop your awareness out of your mind and into the fertile ground of your body. You are not too much. You are simply unanchored. Let the earth hold you while you remember the wisdom encoded in your cells. Breathe. Your body is not separate from the sacred. It is the temple. Tend it. Trust it. Live here. Sit here in that frequency for a moment while we transmit some codes of remembrance and connection. Maya dayene ke ungaya mashano. Undi meo ambaya naya nayeni ki unga. Beundo na mehe wanga be asha inde no ama. Unshi moe na me andayene ke umbo. Bunde undanaya mayene unga. Dumi amba be ande ni ande undu. Koshe ungoe mama yene roe mboa. Bo mama yene ungo. Coming back now. We've got more to talk about. So let's talk about now the Air Woman archetype. Air women are visionaries. They see with the mind's eye. They travel through thought, dream, and imagination. Air governs the mental realm, not the cold logic. This is divine insight, oracle clarity, the kind that rides in on a breeze at dusk and changes your life in one sentence. The breath, the air, the breath of the vocal cords. And like the wind, you're meant to move. You're not meant to be boxed, silenced, and stilled. You're here to inspire. You're here to say it with your breath. Air is the messenger, the in-between. It's the realm of the unseen, the intangible, and the spiritual. In many traditions, air is connected with spirit, the soul, and the realm of the ancestors. It is the carrier of song, sound, and sacred word. It's prayer. It's prophecy. It's the wind that touches your skin like a kiss from beyond the veil. The wind was the first guide. Before the fire, before the drum, there was the wind in the trees, the voice of Gaia, the whisper of the one. And as outside my window, there was a bird that went by, riding, riding the currents of the wind. So, what is the power of air as woman's voice? The patriarchal world feared that a woman could speak clearly and that she could influence others through her word. So it silenced her, softened her, mocked her madness, shamed her magic. But your voice, Earth Woman, is not merely sound, it is spirit technology. It opens portals, it casts spells, it rebirths or it births realities. To speak is to breathe intention into form. Your throat and your womb are sisters. And when your voice is silenced, your womb contracts. When your voice is free, your womb sings. So let me get a drink here. So they want you now to experience the breath of truth. Close your eyes, if you will. Put one hand on your throat and one on your womb. And repeat after me. Through voice and word. Through yes and no. I claim my voice. I lift it high. No more fear. No more lie. Speak me free. Speak me whole. My breath returns me to my soul. Your breath is your tether to spirit. Your voice is your wand, right? Your truth is wind-shaped, wild, invisible, and unstoppable. To walk as air woman is to walk as one who speaks prophecy, listens deeply, breathes prayer, and moves with the unseen. Let the wind pass through your being like a flute. Let spirit sing through your breath. So now let's talk about fire woman. Fire is the flame that remembers. Fire is not a thing, it's a being, a living, breathing force of memory, alchemy, and prophecy. It's the tongue of the ancestors, the crackle of the spirit world speaking. It's the cosmic spark behind all of creation, every heartbeat, every orgasm, every starbirth. And within every earth woman burns this original flame. All beings that exist contain all of the elements. It takes all of that to make this machine that we live in work. So fire is the first voice, fire in the beginning, right? It was flame, not destruction, but illumination. The first fire was not lit by humans, it was gifted. It fell from the heavens as lightning, as solar flare, as breath of the divine through the void. Our earliest ancestors didn't just use fire, they worshiped it, they fed it, they danced with it, they dreamed by it. Fire was not just warmth, it was presence. It was spirit made visible. In many indigenous traditions, fire is seen as a conscious intelligence, a messenger between worlds. Fire doesn't just burn, it transforms. It is sacred destruction, yes, but also resurrection. It clears the old to make space for new. So look at the volcanoes. They are revered and feared at the same time. People travel from across the world just to be in the presence of a volcano. Although if you look, some of us are sitting right on top of one right now, one that is not active, but has the potential to be active. This earth that we live on is made of lava, fire, water. That's what earth is made of. And so you are all of that. The teaching that we come from earth and we return to earth can only be done through fire. So one of the modalities that, so EarthWombyn is outside of my window right now. There was a feather just drifting everywhere on the wind, just one tiny white feather. Messengers, messengers, right? And so, and there is a turkey vulture flying really high outside the window. I was going to talk though about Hall of Records. Hall of Records is one of the modalities that I not found, because you don't find anything. There's nothing new in the planet, right? But I discovered it for myself and I developed it as a tool for assisting others in dealing with their contracts agreements based on the law of free will. And where that fits into the Fire Woman is that what we do with those records, when we discover them, when we identify them, that they are the ones holding us back from whatever it is that we, you know, that we are aiming for, then we destroy those by fire. When I was first developing that modality, that tool, I would instruct people to tear up the contracts, to stamp it null and void, stamp it complete, you know, whatever the imagination called for. And then at some point, the instruction from, you know, the guidance from my higher self was, no, you have to burn it, because the only way to really transform anything is through fire. And so once that contract agreement, promise, whatever it was destroyed by fire, then that agreement was destroyed and everything shifted. I've seen some amazing transformations for people just by going to the Hall of Records, and through that empowerment of self, dealing with their records in that way, I've seen some incredible shifts in people. So, not to plug the Hall of Records, but I wanted to show that it is that fire is being used also in my EarthWombyn traditions and teachings and sharings, and what I offer. So let's continue. So the womb of flame, the fire is not inside the woman, it's metaphorical, right? It is literal. So we carry the heat of creation between our hips, the pulse of ovulation, the rise of the blood, the friction of birth, the combustion of rage, the glow of arousal, the inner furnace of vision. These are not biological accidents, they are ancestral technologies. It is encoded in us, the codex, right? So the women are fire keepers. In many matriarchal cultures, the hearth was the sacred center, and only the women were permitted to tend it, because to tend the flame was to tend life itself. Woman knew if the fire dies, the center collapses, and if the fire is honored, it speaks. So let's, they're wanting to give you a transmission. a fire transmission, and they're calling it feeding the inner flame. And it's for activating your inner fire woman. So if, again, they like the movement of placing one hand on your heart and your womb, right? Because your heart and your womb is what creates life. So close your eyes. Je bohinda handade ulai bakai ekipo buinda anawea. Kuchi la raia shatakara de beenti huama ye ena. Ande ba yele rebeke o kopohi babahi chuun de be wanama. Anna nadade de bekea o hele beki ungohi mash. Ushi papaya nadade de behea lu ukukoi baba. Breathe into your fire as it rises up from your womb to your heart, and ask your body, what do I need to burn at this time? What no longer serves me? What do I need to ignite? There's the contrast, the release and the creation, the womb and the heart. So what is it that you need to ignite? What is it that you need to release? Let the answers rise. Let the visions flicker, release. You may want to cry, you may sweat, you may tremble. Your body may heat up. I know mine is. And that's good, because that means that the fire is moving. Che abohentai namakai ele pihunda. Onna maye heshe da kada de biunda bahi enamua. Fire is not tame, and fire is not safe, and neither are you. You are forced to be reckoned with. Too many women have been taught to fear their anger, to fear their passion, to fear their wild, to smother it, to be soft and palatable. That's not the way of fire woman. Tea mahi ampai enkoele be ishu. Tupia ambaye namaye hetea kolabo ipapaya namaa. Oshto ohelebe ehko onkoi debe enko doolebe dara. Sacred rage is not destruction, it's correction. A fire woman does not burn randomly, she burns with purpose. She speaks truth that trembles structures. She dares to dance on the heap, the ashes of old empires. Your rage is not too much, your voice is not too loud, your fire is not too dangerous, and it is medicine. You were never meant to stay small. You were meant to ignite, to burn, to create. So, elahia pui kapai entutuhui namaa. Shea win chala bayeta karebe eholo omawi ipa. You, Earth Woman, are not here to be lukewarm. You're here to blaze, to melt, to transmute, to transgress, to transform. Let your fire be sacred. Let your fire be sovereign. Let your fire be unapologetically alive. You are not just the fire bearer, you are the fire itself in human form. And the world has forgotten how much it needs your heat. Je bianta hendo ilimeka oinkapai e. Umabaye hete la wishta aya anamayi niki. Hai amahia popoi anchi pe uli pikito laba. Hui ihemea anamohi pai. Je berara ea hia kapopo gepebe e popo e paan. Ne u imamahia asha. Take a breath. Bring yourself back. Bring yourself back now into your physical body, your consciousness. or you can stay where you are and remain in that pose with your eyes closed and just listen from there. But we're going to continue now with water consciousness, with Water Woman. So, water is a liquid crystal consciousness that stores information from its source to its final destination. It never forgets anything that happened to it. Water has memory. And unfortunately, most of what has happened to water is negative. Pollution, negative thoughts. And one of the challenges for Water Woman, is to heal that. If you've ever run across or been directed to the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, and if you haven't, please check it out. You can change the frequency of water through intention, through love, through frequency, your own frequency, by putting love and compassion into it, by projecting those frequencies onto it. You can change even large bodies of water just by your being. And we actually do that, by the way. It doesn't require any intention or any active thought or any active act. So let's talk about the different forms of water. Rainwater. So I have never studied hoodoo in the way that other people have studied it. There's a knowing inside of me, inside of us, all of us, because we have been everything. And there is a knowing inside of me that comes even from my ancestors. It comes from my ancestors. It comes from the other forms that I am currently living in, my other practices that bleed over into this one. There is an awareness, and I can only speak for myself, of earth magic, right? And part of that is working with water. So they want me to talk to you about hoodoo rain. It's not just weather, it's a full-on spiritual event. So there is the teaching of using rainwater in your magic. So some people know that when it rains, the veil is thin, right? The earth opens and the spirits listen. And rainwater doesn't just fall. It has a purpose. It cleanses, it blesses, it breaks things open for you. It clears things. So when you collect it with intention, you are bottling power, especially if it's rain from a storm, right? Excuse me. The marriage of, okay, I've got to do this so they won't leave me alone. Nea muim pahendai enene mokohi apahi wu baayash. Esha onome epepi on takai enene roi lebaya apapai. Hoi e muim paheaba. Shea muim pahendere uhukoi lebea. So there's the marriage of fire and water and air. And that creates lightning, right? So when you collect rainwater from a storm, you're bottling power. And in the old ways, it might have been called war water. So when you collect rainwater that's considered charged water, charged from a storm, and you use it in things like spiritual baths or to anoint your candles. Um, you are creating a force of energy, right? You're going to war on something that is imbalanced. So if you want to wipe down your front door to remove blockages and any kind of stagnant energy, mop with it, you can do that. Now, if you're wanting to sweeten your path, you wouldn't be using storm water, right? You'd be using rainwater that was a gentle rain, a gentle cleansing rain that didn't include lightning and thunder and decisive action. So you can add some rainwater to a jar, put some sugar in it to keep things moving. Do your research on a sugar jar, not a honey jar, because if you want things to move fast, then you're going to use a sugar jar. A honey is thick, right? It moves really slow. It is sweet, but it moves really slow. If you want to remove negative energy, arguments, pain that is on an energetic loop in your house and keeps your house negative and keeps you sick, feeling out of balance, then you can use salt, vinegar, and this rainwater to mop your floors, to clean your walls. So I know that in the way of sacred ceremony, what I've witnessed, I won't say that it always happens, but what I've witnessed is the day before the ceremony or even the first day of ceremony, it rains. Sometimes it's thunder rain, right? Sometimes it's an actual storm, and it's the clearing of the energy so that the ceremony can be sacred and fresh. And then the last day of the ceremony, or sometimes after the ceremony, the day after the ceremony, it rains again to wash away those things that were brought up, that were cleared or brought up to clear. Then it rains again to wash that away. Start to pay attention to that when you hold retreats or when you do ceremony, even just solitary ceremony out in nature. Pay attention to the weather and how it responds to you. Go and dance in the rain, right? Allow the rain to wash over you and to cleanse you and to remove those things that no longer serve you. So I found this handy dandy reference to the different forms of water, and I'm going to share that with you. So rainwater is cleansing, renewal, fresh starts. Ocean water is power, protection, emotional release. Think about that. It's ocean water is salt water, right? River water is movement, change, and progress, because river water is in constant movement. Lake water sometimes doesn't move very much, doesn't move very fast. And so lake water is about reflection, calm, inner stillness. Spring water, constantly renewing itself, is about purity, healing, and life force. And then here we go with storm water again. Energy, vanishing, transformation. So whenever you're collecting those different forms of water, collect them separately, please. in jar bottles for sure. Please don't put it in plastic. Jar bottles, and label it so that you won't forget what it is. So I wanted to share really quickly. We went as a group. We went to Egypt this past spring, and we went to the Osiris. The Osiris is said to where they found Osiris's head. It is in Dundara, I believe. Could be wrong about that. I'm thinking Dundara. Anyway, it's in Egypt in one of the temples, but it's called the Osiris, and it is an aquifer. And we were blessed with a tiny bit of water, right, from the Osiris, from that place, and it's considered a very sacred place, a place of healing, a place of transmutation. So we were blessed with a tiny bit of water, like less than probably a third of a cup. And I did bring it home, and I brought it home to share with one of my sisters who does what they call water gridding. And she visits different places on Earth, on Mother Gaia, and she shares water from one place to another to grid that, to work her magic. Don't ask me to explain water gridding. I don't do it. So I don't have clear knowledge and experience in it. I just provide her with the water. And so I brought back that water for her from the Osiris, and I put it in a safe place. It's actually on one of my altars. And so this water, the Osiris water, had a green tint to it. I have no idea. I guess, from the, what would you call it? Not bacteria, but photogenics. Anyway, so it had a green tint to it, this water. And the other day I was straightening up my room where the altar is, and I happened to pick up the water because it caught my attention. And so I picked it up and I looked at it. This water is perfectly clear now. There is no green tint to it. So I don't know if whatever needed to be released was released. I don't know if the altar purified that water back to its original source. Not sure, but I did notice that the water is perfectly clear now. I'm not going to attempt to drink it, but I did find it interesting. So just sharing that. Water is living, even if it's taken from a stagnant source. It's still living. So let's talk a little bit more about water. So water is the first mother. Before we opened our eyes to the world, we floated in water, deep within our mother's womb, cradled in the amniotic oceans. So we began where all life begins, with water. Water is not simply an element or a resource. It's a spirit, a story, a ceremony. Water is the blood of EarthWombyn herself, moving through rivers, rains, tides, tears, carrying messages from one world to the next. One of the things that I used to do in my early days of practice was taking people on journeys. And I was, at that time, I was led to take people into Mother Earth, deep into Mother Earth, to meet her. And in this journey, they took us down through the earth until we reached a body of water. It was always that way, to go down deep into the earth until you reached a body of water. You want to do that? Let's do it, right? We have plenty of time. Let's see how much time we have. I can't tell how long I've been recording. So, but well, maybe we'll save that for another. We'll save that for another time. So, sorry about that. Let's save that for another time. But I can put a separate recording here if you're ever interested in taking that journey. So water cleanses not just the body, but also the energy field. So if you're using it as a healer, then you would use it as a ritual bath, a river immersion, ocean offerings, and think about the springs, the Roman baths, right? They weren't just for cleansing the body, although that's what you might see um, when you're watching the movies, right? They say it's for cleansing the body, but that's not really what it was for. So water in its flowing form dissolves what no longer serves us. Even the act of weeping, of crying, is releasing. It is a form of releasing. It's emotional. So our tears are made mostly of water. They're also made with salt, right? And it's the body's way of releasing energy too big to hold. So there are rivers of the soul. And when we cry, we're not weak, we're in ceremony. So there are entire movements. They want to call it a ceremony, but it's not really a ceremony. It's, I guess it could be a personal ceremony of going within and finding that place in you that is unhealed, the place in you that is ready to be released, and just allow the emotion to come up. And it will most likely come up as tears, as crying, sobbing, what they call the ugly crying. I've done that a couple of times. And so there are many ways to use water as a healer. They use it in, our athletes use the cold baths, the cold plunges, right, to reset their bodies. Um, there's just a million ways to use water as a healer. So do your research. I'm only giving you guidelines here. So water is a transformer. Think of ice, right? Steam reminds us of our own ascension and how we too can rise, right? Rivers show us how to move around obstacles without losing our way. The ocean teaches us to surrender. The rain shows up as blessings no matter how dark the sky. Each form of water is a teacher: fog, mist, snow, storm. Each one an oracle, an embodiment of divine change. Water doesn't resist transformation, it shapeshifts, it freezes, it flows, it evaporates, it returns. Always herself, always altered. So, water is an amazing teacher, right? So, the earth itself is a womb, and the water is her amniotic fluid. All life begins in water, and when we're called to protect it with the same fierce devotion that we offer our children, is when you pray over water, you speak love to it, you honor it. It's not just a blessing, but it's also a resource, a sacred entity, a co-creator. So you are the water, right? So before we had names, before we had a language, we had water. She was our first home, a dark, sacred sea inside the womb. In many indigenous traditions, water is honored as an elder. Rivers have carried the prayers of our grandmothers. Oceans have swallowed empires. I mean, even in our time in these bodies on this planet, we have watched water give life, take life. I mean, currently this is July of 2025. Here in Texas, we have had several massive, devastating floods. Who would have thought in July, in one of the hottest months of our year, that we would have floods, rain so heavy. In one place, we had the water level rose 26 feet in 40 minutes. 26 feet in 40 minutes. That's crazy. And there were a lot of people that died just this month. So, and through that, the water also holds the ancestral memory. The water holds the memory of that devastation. It holds the memory of those deaths. It holds the memory of the fear that those people had. And so when you are working with water, remember that. Remember to release all of that fear. Remember to release the death, to honor it first, but to release it. So every drop of water contains the breath of the ones who came before us. It's where our mothers sang to the rivers as they washed their wounds. They caught rain in their hands to bless new life. They cried into streams and asked them to carry the grief downstream. And so when you touch water, you're touching their hands as well, because their hands touch that water. Water is the bridge between worlds, is between what is seen and unseen, between the now and the before, between this body and the spirit realm. So, how is the Earth Woman a water bearer? To be a woman is to carry the sacred codes of water inside you. I mean, we create life inside of ourselves. Our body is made of water, blood. The monthly tides of your menstrual cycle mirror the waxing and the waning of the moon and the sea. Our wombs are vessels, containers of life, and yes, also the mystery, intuition, and power. We flow, we bleed, we weep, we release, just like the rivers. So when a woman prays over water, she awakens the bond that predates time. She remembers herself. Okay. Me amo he mabi ichi ke lare re he o ala maasha. Onchi be ke ara ra muhi mba hindara ri ihili we apa. Be o pe apai ende ke o ko be aba were ba ala. Ante halai e shu koi. Me o he mabi e chi ke pe wanda ba hata ba yi debe e. Oi ma. I had to stop it for a second because they're working here and it got really, really loud. So sorry about that. So when a woman prays over her water, she awakens that bond that predates time. She remembers herself as a water keeper, a midwife, a flow, a guardian of the sacred source. To carry water is to carry life, to hold grief, to bless generations. So there is, what would you call it? There is, there is a duty, I'm going to call it a duty, or they're going to call it a duty, that some women undertake to be the grief holders, to be the holders of emotion, to be the holders of grief and love. These are the women who are so emotional and they're not sure why they're emotional all the time. I mean, one of my dearest, best friends is one of those. She holds the emotions of the universe. It's a sad thing to watch, but this is the thing. This is her agreement. So this is why Indigenous women rise as protectors of the water. From Standing Rock to the Amazon, they stand on the front lines, not just for the land, but also for the spirit of water herself. Because water is not just sacred, it is kin. And to desecrate water is to desecrate the womb of Earth herself. So I know that in particular at Mount Shasta, there is one of the tribes there is the protector of a particular spring, and they've had a struggle with visitors there, playing in the water. To them not being honorable of that water, and so it's been a real struggle for them, and they've actually had to file lawsuits. They've had to ask for protection, and so the beings, they brought that up because they just want me to ask you to be mindful whenever you are visiting other people's lands, other sacred areas. Be mindful of the earth. Be mindful of the water that is there. It's not there for your entertainment, right? That reminds me of also closer to home for me is Arkansas, Hot Springs, Arkansas. There are so many springs there, and people go there for entertainment. They're not honoring of that water. And so the beings just want me to ask you to consider what they're sharing here today, and consider that in your adventures where water is involved, right? So let's see what else I was supposed to share with you. Some of the rituals of water reverence that you can use was speak to your water, whether it's your bath, your tea, visiting, like I said, visiting a spring, visiting a river, visiting the ocean. Offer your gratitude. Speak healing words over the water, because the water remembers, right? Offer your tears. Let your grief be a prayer. Your tears are not weakness, they're sacred libations returned to earth. Collect the moon water. Charge your water under the full moon or the new moon and use it for blessings. And so when we say charge your water, you could use purified water, but they would prefer that you use spring water or water that you collect like rainwater, right? But charge it under the new or full moon. Use it for blessings, rituals, and as a medicine for your wound, right? Pray at the source. Visit a body of water with intention. Sing, dance, drum. Remember that you're not alone. You're always being held by her. So in the last, they want me to share this sort of a poem of sorts. Water is not weak. Water carves canyons, births storms, carries memory through generations. She is the mother of fluid form, the keeper of tides, the mirror of soul. You're not too emotional. You're water in motion, and that is sacred. Before we had names, we were carried in water. Before language, We were sung through amniotic tides. Our first home was not the womb, it was the water in the womb. All life came from ocean. Every cell in your body remembers the sea. Your tears are salt, your blood is tide, your womb is a moonlit ocean. You are not separate from the waters. You are their embodiment. So let's see where I am now. They want you to close your eyes so that we can have this. Although they've been giving you transmissions, this one is a focused transmission on reconnecting you with your ocean heart. So as you close your eyes, imagine a wave rising from your root to your crown. Jia behantai ena wuhingai ababahiwa. Sho mehashe lamashingu o mimba mayanaye ba mayenium. Let the wave wash through you, cleansing and reconnecting. Je babaye neki. Feel the language ripple through your fields. You might rock or sway or sing or cry because water is fluid. Bebaraye heningibu. Mayanai Chiu. This is the vibrational baptism of sorts. You're being sung back to your original frequency. Men bepahende kiunga. No bebeandeu. Shu mamaye ni hamaye. Ungo emeu. You are the water woman, the one who listens, the one who flows, the one who feels it all and still rises. You do not need to be solid. You do not need to hold it all. You are allowed to overflow, to release, to soften. Water does not apologize. It moves where it must, and so do you. Return to the bath, the river, the bowl, the tide. The body is 70% holy. Let it flow. Nebuambaye niki do ameonchemu bebuambaye niha. Begin to bring yourself back. I'm going to pause this for just a second as they're working outside my window again, and it's quite noisy. So I think it may be safe to continue. So we're moving on now to Ether Woman. And Ether Woman is the womb beyond the worlds, right? Ether Woman is the Akashic body, the light codes, the spirit threads. You were never just flesh and bone. You are starlight and skin. You are the whisper from the great mystery. You are woven from ether. Ether is the fifth element, beyond earth, fire, water, and air. It is not physical, it can't be touched, yet it is the field that holds them all. Ether is the womb of the womb, the unseen wellspring from which all things are born and all things return. Ether is pure potential. Imagine space, not empty, but alive, teeming with codes, frequencies, vibrations, glyphs, codecs. Imagine that every breath you take is connected to every star that was ever born. That's ether. You're not only of earth, you are of ether, the embiotic fluid of the universe, of the cosmos. You are a multidimensional being, remembering how to walk on earth while holding the codes of stars, the void, and the all. Your womb remembers this. She is not just a vessel of biology, she is the cosmic transmitter, the receiver of celestial frequency. She is the Akashic womb. The womb is a library of timelines. Every experience, every ancestral memory, every karmic thread, it lives there. You don't need to go out to access truth. You need to go in. And Ether Woman becomes still. When she becomes still, she listens, and then she knows. We call this the Akashic field. It's not up there in the stars, it's here within the sacred body of your being. So, light language, to tie all this in, light language is the language of the ether womb. It bypasses logic and awakens deep memory. You don't need to be trained, you only need to remember. You let it rise from your belly, your bones, your breath. You let it sound as tones, clicks, syllables, whispers. It's the voice of your soul through the portal of the womb. So let's have a transmission, light language, for the ether woman to reconnect you to that part of yourself. So close your eyes, please. And for this one, they want you to imagine entering the dark space, the in-between. Slow your breath. Imagine floating deep into space, no edge, no form, only the vastness, only the silence. And listen to my voice. I am sky and seed and sun. Om Namah. I am moon and many in one. I am breath, the wave, and the flame. Ooh. I am the womb that has no name. I am the dark. I am the light. I am the void that burns and births. Beboe Maya Shiniki Unga. I am the all. I am the she. I am the womb of mystery. De bebe undaye neki hamayeshina. Undi me anarayeli andaye ni miku ama. You were never meant to fit inside this world. You were born to bridge worlds, to walk the visible while carrying the invisible, to speak in tongues forgotten and bring healing through your presence alone. You are the woman of ether, a cosmic vessel, a temple of encoded light. Walk as the mystery, breathe as the universe. You are the womb beyond worlds. Your role is a memory keeper, a soil tender, a gatekeeper of life, death, life cycles. Imagine walking barefoot on ancient land. Be bararaye me unga. Be hoshini. Mu emayanaye kina. Behebe undila. Oshe me shingi bibi utane. Unda namaye nike unga. Begin to bring yourself back into this time, this place. Breathe, take a breath, release. Welcome back. So, what can you do with all of this information, all of these transmissions that you have received? They want you to make a journal entry. What qualities of EarthWoman live in you today? They want you to also consider integrating these transmissions into your daily walk. Take this knowledge with you when you walk on the earth, when you run water, when you wash, when you light a fire, when you breathe. Reflect on how all of these things are you, how you are the Earth Woman and the Earth Keeper, how it lives within you in divine consciousness, divine union. You are all of this. They just want you to remember that you are all of this. So I'm going to close this now. Please check back for more transmissions, for more episodes of Earth Woman on Conscious Awakening Network. I look forward to sharing with you again. I shall see you soon.